Welcome, welcome for another week of learning relationship skills together. So excited to see you all. Love to see you in the room, Odin. Better call Zal, Puddles, Omid, Armand. Yes. I know it doesn't sound like it, but I'm a bit losing my voice and I am coughing. So if my voice is a little funny, that's why. Here to empower you all, teach you all as many relationship skills as I can. I have a master's in clinical behavioral psychology, specializing in relationships, and so that's what we're here. That's what we're here for. So let's jump into it. So at any point, if you want to speak or give your input or ask a question or share a story, we all love that when people do that. So feel free, request to speak and I'll accept it. And if you're already a speaker, no need to push your hand up. You can unmute and start speaking. It's always so much more fun when people do that. So feel free at any point to do that. We also get so much more value that way, hearing other people's opinions and learning from each other. So just keep that in mind at any point. All right, so this week's topic is signs your relationship is going bad and how to fix it. So before I get into it, I want to know what signs you guys would notice for relationships starting to go bad. So let's see where the room is at with this question. I know Armand is the only speaker right now. I still have my brother Omid from Australia here with us as a guest speaker, which is exciting. I'll ask Armand first if he's up to it. What do you think are some bad signs in a relationship?
I think if you feel distant to your partner, that's a sign. I feel like if you think you can't be honest with them, tell them the truth because you're walking on eggshells or something, that's another sign. Those are kind of the two that come to mind, I guess.
I love it. They're actually two I didn't write down, so I appreciate it. Awesome. I see two other speakers. I'm so excited. Zal, I saw your hand up went first. Go for it. What are some signs you would notice?
Yeah, for me, communication is a big part of it. So either a lack of communication or a difference in communicating and kind of potentially being resilient to talking and having a conversation about problems. That would kind of be my biggest thing. I didn't really hear what Armand said first, if he said that or not.
No, you got it. You covered some new points. Awesome. Odin, great to see you here. I know it's up late over there.
Yeah, it's good to be here and long time no see. Just had a long summer vacation now. Just trying to, cope up with the normal work and daily life stuff. It's always difficult to come back from vacation. You just have to adjust. And for me, it's always a good sign if your partner is throwing some things at you, talking back. And that's a good sign. It seems that something is not going right.
Yeah.
Then you should perhaps change something. That's all.
No, I love that you said that because that's such a good point. Stereotypically in the movies, the couples that are arguing are always like, oh no, they have all the problems, but that's not true. They did a lot of scientific research in this, and good and bad relationships both have arguments. That's not the separator. It's about, as you guys said, even Zal said, communicating is so important, and you need to hear the bad stuff because it's the only way you're going to grow and improve together. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with because it's difficult to have that hard conversation first. It's really uncomfortable, or they think, oh, it'll go away, just give it enough time, I'll forgive, I'll forget, and all of these things usually carry with you and they don't go away and they just amplify. And so it's the short-term pain for the long-term gain that we have to practice that doesn't come as naturally to us most times as humans. So love that you guys are touching on these really good points. All right, let's see some of the ones that I came up with. So some of the early signs to notice is when someone's being snappy. So, they might just snap at you about something out of nowhere, or, they might make a joke that's actually really mean, but it's disguised in a joke and it's like they're upset about something. And if you notice that, call it out and just say, is there something you're upset about? I would love to know about it. Rather you tell me directly than, come at me with like a snappy joke or something. Having outbursts out of nowhere. So, just having a normal conversation and then someone gets really upset out of nowhere. That's probably a result of a lot of bottling. So that's a good sign to notice. If you're feeling unhappy a lot in the relationship, it's another one. Feeling stuck or helpless. Not feeling close to your partner. I think that's one that kind of came up. Not sure about your partner's intentions or doubting them or doubting the trust. Losing some sexual desire. Threatening to break up. I thought this is really bad. If you're doing that, please just secretly know this is really bad to do. It's the kiss of death on a relationship, because it puts the relationship like on thin ice, and people don't function well that way. So there's a lot of other ways to communicate that you're upset in a relationship, but please never resort to threatening ending a relationship over something. If you're unhappy and you need some really important things changed, you can always say, hey, look, this is something that's important to me. I brought it up multiple times with what I need to see improvement in. And, if it's something that's really a deal breaker, that's such a big deal, and you really are planning on ending it, then they need to know about it as soon as possible and just be like, at this timeline, if this isn't kind of addressed, like I'll need to, review the relationship and see where we're at. This is something that's very important to me that I need to feel respected on. But it's not coming out of the blue where you just suddenly leave, and it's not you're throwing, I'm going to leave you if you do this, I'm going to leave you if you do this. You just have, a very transparent conversation with where you're at, and do your best not to threaten them to leave, because it's very hard on a relationship for both people. But the other person, it can be a worry that's in their head that can be self-sabotaging a lot. That's not, naturally who they are, but the situation is pushing them to be like that. Those are some that came to my mind. And, it's really important when you notice these signs, and you guys came up with some really good signs. And it's good. A lot of us can verbalize them when asked, but it's hard to notice when it's happening to us sometimes. And maybe we can see it in our friends, and it's easier to point it out. But when it's happening to us, we need to either build our own awareness or have good people around us to make us aware when things like this are happening. So again, if you're bottling, you're noticing you're being like, oh, I'm upset, but I'll let this one go. Realize that you're bottling, and it's likely going to come up again. And if it comes up again, please, the second time at least, say something. And this is all, you can understand this logically, but in the situation, it is really hard to practice it. So we're going to practice these things over and over again until it becomes more fluent to us. And, a lot of us, even if we notice that we're upset and we're like, okay, this is not good, and then we go and ask people for advice on what to do, or if we are justified in feeling this way, there are a lot of people that give bad advice, and they might send you in the wrong direction. They might tell you, oh, don't be silly, forget about it. Or on the other end, they might tell you, oh, how dare this person do that? Break up with them, or don't talk to them. You need to teach them a lesson. All of these things are usually not very good advice in general. Obviously, the situation is different, but you really need to figure out who gives good advice and go to them, because sometimes it can really send you in the wrong direction, and a little thing that turns into a huge argument now that all these people are involved and they're telling you the wrong thing. So that's another thing that happens to be aware of. When we were in Europe, my husband and I, my brothers, we went to Europe for the first time this summer, and we saw, I think it was in France, everywhere it said in the transportation, see it, say it, sort it. And that's just going to use that one for today. So the first one is to see it, so be aware. And then, to say something. And, the skill I always encourage people to use when they notice that they're upset about something is to recognize that they're upset, and then verbalize it as quickly as possible to their partner. And hopefully, what you need to make you feel better, and what you need from them. And sometimes it's just, I want you to listen to me and give me a hug at the end, or whatever it is. But even if you don't know what you want from them, but you're upset, still say it. It's better to say it than bottle it in and wait to figure out, what you need from them to fix it. Sometimes they can think of the thing that you need to feel better by just hearing it. So, and by saying it first, you are now able to, take control in the situation of the argument. And you train your partner, if they don't already, that when you say you're upset, they don't come back at you and say, well, I'm upset about you when you did this, and just deflect. So, it's training your mind to realize when you say you're upset about something, can they actually hear you, recognize what you're saying, make you feel heard, and then try and figure out what you need to feel better and do that for you. And if they can't give you exactly what you want, to figure out a compromise thing that will still make them happy, and that you can give. And the other person needs to understand that they need to take that role, because as humans, usually we just deflect back, and then now two people are angry and we just go in circles and no one feels heard, and you kind of feel helpless, and that nothing gets resolved when you bring things up. So we're really trying to break that cycle and acknowledge the first person that brought up their upset, fix them first, and then move on to the second person who's upset, and then figure out what they want after the first one is resolved. So that takes a lot of practice to do. My husband and I, we still practice it to this day. Sometimes we get it wrong, but we remind each other, because we're training our brains to learn this pattern of better communicating. So that's a good one to keep in mind. Another one I noticed, so we're wrapping up to the end of it and we'll go straight into examples. But another thing I wanted to bring up is, it's common for, if you are starting this and you've never done this with your partner before, that if you say you're upset and you say what you need, and then they get angry at you and be like, well, I'm upset about you with this. I'll give you a real life example so you can kind of figure this out and see it better. So imagine, you've been going out every weekend with your partner, spending time with friends, and you really want a weekend with just you and him. You work all the time. This is your one time off in the weekend. Let's say you only get one day off in a weekend, and you really, really need a weekend to yourself just with your partner. And this has been building up for a long time. You finally say it to your partner, look, I have this boundary. I want to share it with you. I really need next weekend to be just you and me. And then they say, yes, no worries. And then they contact you like on Friday night, and they say, hey, like this friend who was like sick for so long, now they're free and they really want to hang out, and this would be so great for us to go spend time with them. And for a lot of people, it's so easy, and this is almost a real life example that I'm modifying. They're like, oh, okay. And even the person's delivery was, oh, you want to know something funny? And that just triggered the other person so bad, because they were literally trying to say it in a light way, but they were saying it in the worst way, and not even acknowledging that their partner wanted something else and asked them specifically. So in this scenario, it's very easy for someone to say, yeah, okay, it's fine. What's one more week when I've waited a while? And then says, fine, go spend times with the friends. And then the friend says, it's only going to be that on Saturday night that we're going to see them. And then without even telling you, your partner has already confirmed that you're spending Sunday with them too. And then on Sunday, as soon as they leave, you yell at your partner and you're like, I'm so upset, I'm so angry, this is not okay, and you have a huge outburst. And so this is a very common thing that can happen when relationships are not functioning well and people aren't being heard, and they're just not able to have a healthy argument. So if we backtrack this exact situation, if we were to do it perfectly by the book, the first moment, it's great. She said she's upset that she's not having time with her partner on the weekend. They've been out too many times. That's great. So, and then she was they were really specific, and they said, I want next weekend to be just you and me. So that was great. And then so the moment that the partner texts them and says, hey, for whatever reason, this weekend, let's spend time with this person, that is the moment you need to realize you're super angry and that it's okay to be upset, and that you can verbalize that. And even the wording of, hey, this is so funny, or something like that, it's okay to be upset about how they approached you about that too. So that's the point. You want to, text them back and say, I'm not happy with this, we need to speak, or call them and address it, and stand by what you're wanting and saying. And if you do decide to compromise, it's fine, but still ask for what you need to feel better, because it doesn't just go away. You can forgive something, but it's just still building up. So people really got to practice to value themselves and realize what they need to actually feel respected in a relationship. So maybe they said not this weekend, but we can meet them next weekend, or we can meet them this weekend, but then I need 2 weekends where we really don't, and I don't want to even be asked to spend time with someone else, because that is now part of it, I realized. So you have to figure out what it is, and you can negotiate that together. Another thing that I've noticed is, for example, if you get to that last point and now you're really angry, a lot of things have bottled up, and you yell at your partner or you have an outburst, you are the person that's upset first in this situation, because the first person asked, stated their boundary clearly, said, I'm upset, I want to have one weekend with just you and me. They're the one that's upset first. So if they get angry and yell, it's related to the first thing that they got upset about. So if the partner says, you have no right to yell at me, this is unacceptable, I have all these big things coming on, they could double down on their side and say, I don't want to talk to you about this, go cool down, go work on yourself, you don't behave like this, like I don't want to have this conversation with you. Those are not things that are okay. There's a reason that your partner is upset, and you need to address that first. And it's okay to not want your partner to yell at you. That's fine. But that needs to be addressed separately. It's okay for it to be addressed, but just the first initial problem needs to be addressed. And a lot of people, when someone doubles down and they say, and this is myself included, I had to learn this skill. I only learned this skill actually in the last 2-3 years. So usually when I would say I'm upset about something, if someone else said, no, you shouldn't be upset about this, I'm really upset about this, you're doing the wrong thing, usually I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I don't know why I didn't think of that. And I would, when someone doubles down on their side, usually I would think, oh no, I must be wrong. And I know maybe this is a bit of an Australian thing, where usually we don't make strong statements where we're certain about things. We're just like, oh, this might be one side of the argument, this might be another side. But now that I moved to America, people are a little more certain with how they speak. Even if they're not 100%, they speak a little more certainly. So I had to learn that someone just sticking by what they say and doubling down on what they're saying doesn't necessarily mean that they're right and I'm wrong. So I'm still allowed to have feelings if someone else says, no, you're wrong the second time, or no, you shouldn't feel that way, or for whatever reason. So that's another thing to keep in mind when having arguments. Like, it's whatever you're feeling, you have every right to feel whatever you're feeling, and you just have to communicate that. And the other person, if they need to show their love by making you feel respected and appreciated, and try and figure out what you need, and you try and figure out what you need so you can resolve it as quickly as possible. Any questions, any stories, any comments anyone wants to say, this would be a perfect time to speak up. Would love to hear someone else's voice besides mine if you guys have something to say. Okay. All right. If you guys ever do, feel free to request to speak or to just unmute. All right, let's jump into our Reddit questions for the week and practice the skills of fixing and noticing when things are starting to go wrong and fixing them. So let's start with question 1. So this is a 27-year-old female and a 28-year-old male. And the subject line is, wife wants me to cut up pictures of my daughter that... Oh, yeah.
Time you go out, you notice something, maybe it's like a small thing, but you don't want to ruin the moment. Do you think it's like, do you bring it up immediately, or is this something like, if it's not the biggest thing, would you maybe bring it out at a calmer moment, or is it okay to bring it up immediately? Good question.
Yeah. Great question. As a general rule, I would say that the quicker you bring it up, the better. Obviously, how you bring it up is important too. And so that there's a lot of skills attached to that. But it's even if you just say it honestly, it's good, because then you're not bottling it up for later. You might not be having the best time, even though you're in a cool place, you're about to have fun, or you are having fun. This thing could be taking away from your happiness. So when you address it, if you can say it in a very soft startup way, and figure out what you need to kind of feel better, that would really help. Like, maybe sometimes maybe like you thought that you would split the bill, and they just expected you to pay. You're at this really fun place, and then this thing happened, and that's kind of like eating away at you, for example. It's okay to bring up how you're feeling about that, and kind of figure out what you need, because then you can resolve it more quickly and be able to fully enjoy the experience that you're at. If you really don't have the courage to bring it up in that moment, then bring it up afterwards at a moment that you feel more comfortable, but don't leave it too late, because the longer it gets, it's harder for it to be addressed. You feel like it's not a big deal, or they might get more upset that, like, why didn't you just tell me then? And you've carried this for this long, and now you're telling me, and it gets heavier and heavier the longer you wait. So it is situation based, but in general, I would say in the hard situations, it's better to bring it up than not. And it's good to practice how to best bring up things where it doesn't cause a big argument. Arman and I have now had, we've had so many difficult conversations, and now we've gotten so much better at expressing when we're upset, where we can just say it quite quickly to each other, where it doesn't cause a lot of emotions on either side, and we can figure out what the other person needs and give them and make them feel better. Arman, do you have any examples of when we've done that? Maybe when we're having a good time, where we've just been able to talk about something and address it and move on. Does anything come to mind for you, Arman?
When we've been able to talk about something, address it, and move on.
Yeah,
how
like quickly.
Serious of a problem?
Mazza, do you have any specific level of seriousness with your problem question?
I would say low to a medium. Like, maybe just thinking, like, what would, like, not paying for the first date, or an assumption there. Another thing I was thinking is, like, I think I would need time to actually reflect, because sometimes they might do something, and then you're like, do I really care enough to bring it up? Sometimes, like, you gotta let the thing sit and, like, choose if you care, because sometimes you can just get spontaneous or emotional, but, like, you don't really care about it, or it might just be a one-time thing, and you're like, bro, this is never gonna happen again, or something.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any specific example that you can think of that could be like that?
It's happened to me. Let me think if I can think of something. Like, I'm trying to think of, I can't really think of something where it's like, it's definitely, there have been times when you've done stuff and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if it's okay or not. But usually it ends up being when you do something differently than I would, but then, like, I think about it and I'm like, is that a valid way of doing things? And if it is, then maybe I'm okay with it. Maybe an example could be, when we had a dishwasher, you just like to put everything in the kitchen sink in the dishwasher. It didn't matter what it was. If we had a dog, you would have given it a shower in our dishwasher. And yeah, at first it really bothered me because at home I was like, this is, when I was a kid, that's just not something my parents did. And yeah, like really bothered me. And then I kind of like thought about it for a day or two. And I was like, actually some of the pans she's putting in the dishwasher, it's okay. It's, that makes sense. Sometimes you are putting pans in the dishwasher or pots that I don't think were supposed to go in there. They may have been some nonstick pans or something like that. But I feel like, where I was like, I had an opinion but I realized, I was wrong or that what I knew was wrong.
Oh my gosh, I'm laughing at the situation. I'll tell you why. Because it's really good that you told me, because I didn't know for a really long time that this was really upsetting him. Every time he would come into the kitchen, and he would see the dishwashers done, and he would see like these big pans, or he would see me putting like not rinsed things in the dishwasher. And I remember this upset you for like a long time. And then
So it upset me because like sometimes when things would come out of the dishwasher, they would still have stains and stuff on them.
Yeah.
And that would really bother me. And I've been to your house. You do have the odd piece of food stuck to clean plates or clean glasses and stuff like that. And in my house, it was just never like that. What we consider dishes clean is different.
Absolutely. And so this is, as you can see, dishwashing isn't something as a one-off thing where it would go away if you never talk about it. So we had to talk about this one, and I'm glad it came up. And then, we had to figure out a compromise where I think I was like rinsing a little more, and maybe I wouldn't put the pans or really big pots in there. I would try more. But I only did that after he communicated that this was kind of upsetting him. So yeah.
That is,
yeah.
I don't remember thinking that we compromised. What
do you remember?
From what I remember, there were some things that I think I Googled and looked up, and I was like, this isn't supposed to go in the dishwasher. And you're like, all right, that's fair. And then, whenever something came out of the dishwasher that wasn't clean, I would just ask you to clean it.
Yeah.
Or it's just like I don't care how it gets clean as long as it is. So as long as I'm able to use it when I'm cooking or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, everyone in the room today, Armand's also quite sick, so he's not feeling the best today. So his voice is also a bit like struggling. So I'll try not call on you too much, but thank you so much for speaking as much as you have today. But yeah.
I don't think we answered Mazda's original question.
No, not yet. So with this example, I would say the quicker you bring up this sort of thing and you figure out a compromise, or like figure out what you decide to do quicker, is better than leaving it. I'm sure. Maybe if Armand had told me sooner, he would have felt less annoyed for a long period of time. Yeah. So, but I would say
what
the
I
sooner
want
the
to
better.
say is, I wouldn't get caught up in as soon as you feel an emotion, try to express it. I don't think that doesn't feel productive for me. What feels like is productive is sometimes, like Mazda said, something will happen and it'll bother you, or you don't know how you feel about it. And I think it takes some time sometimes it takes time to figure out how you feel about it or what you want. Like going and saying, this upset me. Okay, that's fine. But then like, what do you want out of it? Like if you go into a conversation with Kimia and say, this is what upset me. Okay, that's the problem. But then the next step is, well, what are we going to try? And if I, take a little longer, but come in with a potential solution, I think, and figure out what I want. I think that usually when that happens, it's really worth it, because it's like, yeah, okay, this is what bothered me. I know what'll make it right, and she has the chance to make it right if it's not too much trouble for her. Yeah. So I would say, how do we solve stuff? The first step is kind of detection, being aware that you're upset, and figuring out what made you upset, which is not always easy. Sometimes something will happen and you'll have a reaction, and then you may look back and see that it was 4 or 5 things in a row that caused that reaction. So Yeah, just that step one of figuring out, hey, what's going on? Why am I upset? Okay, I figured out why I'm upset. You know, what's going to make it right? And then once you figure that out, you know, then you can go to your partner and say, hey, this made me upset. This would make it right. Can you do that? I think that usually works.
Yeah, that's usually really great if you can have all the pieces together and you don't let it go. You actually are formulating it, figuring it out, and presenting it.
But not overthinking it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not sitting
that's
there
super
just...
key. Super key. Don't overthink it. And even if you are missing some of the pieces, like you don't know why you're so upset or how many different things have contributed to you being this upset. So there's bottling involved. Or you don't know what you want from the situation. Don't let that, if it's you have strong feelings about it, and it's bothering you, just say it. Because even if you can't figure it out, maybe your partner can help figure it out, and at least they're aware and they can be more kind of understanding of what you're going through and what you're experiencing, and you're not in two separate bubbles going through life. You're both on the same page. Being on the same page is so important. And I know one of the ones that I highlighted in my signs of a relationship that could be going bad is when someone feels helpless or feels stuck, and doesn't know it. And that could, partly be with overthinking, or, thinking that whenever you bring it up, it always ends the same way, or it always ends in argument, or things like that. That's a really important feeling to realize that you're experiencing. And for it's very common that a partner can feel like they just don't have the right to feel how they feel, or their feelings are not important, or if they say what they want, it's not going to happen. And it if someone really does care about you and respect you, if you're feeling a certain way, and then that's important to them, and they need to work on helping you feel better. So you absolutely have every right to feel and want whatever you want, and have that person at least make you feel heard, and to talk about it and figure it out with you. So I know that's also a common problem, that people don't even bring it up because they don't think it's important enough, or it's not something that's okay for them to bring up. I don't know, Armand, if you want to say anything. I know I've asked you to talk a lot, but is there anything on that you want to talk about, the helpless thing or the feeling stuck?
Just, I want to clarify, when you say helpless, there are definitely some contexts where I feel helpless. Can you clarify what you're kind of looking for here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know at least in the first few years of our relationship, you didn't realize that you could even say that you were upset about something and that you could want something for it, or everything was kind of, you felt decided for you, or I don't know, that whole thing was a revelation, I remember, for you, where you realize that you can ask for things, and it doesn't just, if you don't say anything, then things kind of get decided around you, and you might feel helpless or not in control of what's going on, or feeling stuck.
Okay, I think I understand a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a feeling of helplessness comes whenever, something is happening over and over again, and I feel like I can't do anything to change the outcome. It's like when I have the detection down, but I feel like there's no solution. This happen when, for example, I'd be like, oh no, what's a good example? So whenever you ask for stuff, you want stuff very immediately. It's like, I need this thing now, or it loses all its value, and I'll be angry at you. And be like, watch this movie with me. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this movie with you right now. And you were like, you don't love me because you don't want to watch this movie with me. If the positions were reversed, I would drop everything and watch this movie with you. And yeah, in that situation, I felt, definitely kind of helpless, because it was like, option one, I watch the movie I don't want to watch. Maybe I'm not miserable, but, I'm building up resentment. Or option two, I say no, and I deal with the fallout of the argument. That was definitely a situation where I felt helpless, that, we've worked through, and I think now we're better at compromising. So, and I think I understand a little bit better why the time horizon is so important to you.
Yeah, that was a good one. I forgot about that one that we worked through a while ago, for sure. I remember distinctly one specific situation. I wanted to go to the pool. I don't know. I wanted, it built up for me for so long, and I don't know how many other things I'd asked for him to do, but and that maybe he didn't have time to do. But I remember I wanted to go to the pool, and he's like, no, and I just got so upset. And I was like, but I want to go now, and the pool is going to close at this time. And then yeah, I remember that was like the first 6 months of living together for the first time in our marriage. And yeah, I had to realize that, you know, I can't get things immediately when I want them, which I know is it sounds very simple to understand, but it took me a while. And you know, but for him to also be like, you know, you need to give me notice, and you know, I am open to doing things, or like, you know, if the way that you ask me is different, then there might be a different outcome, or yeah, just we had to work through that. And so now I'm more flexible on my end, and he's more flexible on his end. But you know, it still comes up sometimes that we have to work through. So that wasn't the specific. I was thinking of more other examples where, like, I don't know, maybe on holidays we would want to go somewhere, or how we spend our time, and he wouldn't realize that he has the option to say what he wants, and us to incorporate that. I just remember like not speaking up, and not realizing that he can speak up, and that we really would take his opinion into like our plans and change it. So I think that's like another thing that it takes time to learn, to realize you have all these rights that you can use, and you will be respected when you say it. But sometimes for whatever reasons, people might not speak up, and so it's
I
a
think a
really good
part of
idea.
that was
Yeah.
a lot of time, like, you know, for example, whenever you would say you wanted to do something, like you would say it with such passion and I really want to do this. I'd be like, oh my gosh, like this is like a 10 out of 10 for her. And for me, yeah, I want to go do this thing, but maybe I want to do it like 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. You know, and weighing the costs and benefits, I'd be like, all right, like if she wants to do something 10 out of 10, I want to do something 7 out of 10. But we should go do the 10 out of 10 thing and maximize total happiness. You know, but the issue was, you know, we just never got to my 7 out of 10 things. So, you know, and that just over time caused an issue.
Yeah. This is such a good one. So, for example, like the way I would say it, I would say really passionately is what I want to do, but it wasn't a necessarily 10 out of 10 thing I wanted to do. You know, it was something I was excited about, but I get excited about a whole bunch of things. And, you know, he assumed that I was that strongly wanting to do it because of how I said it, and then the words I was using, and the excitement I was showing. And so he wouldn't speak up to say what he wanted for a long time. And then, you know, it took a while, but then when he started saying what he wanted to do, even if he didn't feel it was as strongly as I wanted to do, then I realized there was something that he wanted to do, and that we would definitely work that in. And so that was like a really cool thing. So I don't know, it's still not, I don't know if we're fully answering your question, Master, but it's
We're not
important.
even talking
But
about his
we're
question
talking about
anymore.
his question.
But
I'm
I got
sorry.
another thing to say now. It also works.
Oh no, take it easy.
Screw Mazda. We just need a reason to talk.
Oh my gosh.
No, so wait, I have something relevant.
Okay, go.
So my relevant thing is it also works in reverse. You know, one way is how much do you want to do a positive thing, but also like people's thresholds for things like crying. You know, when Kimia would cry, Kimia's, you know, how upset does she need to be to cry? Her threshold is, you know, lower than mine. So it's like if she would cry at something, I'd be like, oh my God, the sky is falling. What are we going to do? Like it was really, you know, it seemed like a relationship, you know, a very large relationship event when in reality, it may not have been. So, and, you know, right, just because you expect people to do things when you would do them. So there's something else to keep in mind, you know, hey, next time your partner cries, maybe after they're done crying, maybe not during, so they don't get upset at you. Just be like, out of 10, how upset were you? Just gauging for myself. And if they like say a different number than you would say or that you thought, hey, that's good to know.
Yeah. And even during, I think it's okay to ask. And it's important for you guys to have like similar scales. So you might say like a 6 and they might say a 6, but you might have completely different scales. So make sure you're both using the same scaling system as much as you can. So like 0 is, you know, you give an example for like 0 or 1, and you give an example for 5, and you give an example for 10. So usually for 10, I put like, you know, you like are ready to have a divorce. That's like 10. And like, you know, and then you kind of go down, and you guys can create your own ranking system that makes sense to you. But it's really helpful to kind of, with a lot of things, now that so it's all coming back to me. With a lot of things, I remember he would think I was like at a 9 or a 10 or like above an 8. And I was like at a 2. And like usually I don't go too much above, like, you know, I'm usually between 1 to 3 out of 10 when I'm upset, even though I might show that I'm really upset. So that was a huge thing for us to kind of even realize what is going on and putting it into perspective of how serious it is. And, when I would be like reacting this way, he would think, oh no, our relationship is almost over. Like, and that wouldn't even be close to what's on my mind. So getting on the same page, even in that way, is so important, because then our reactions become so much different if we realize our relationship is not at stake. This is like a very low end risk situation, and then we can just figure it out together. Or if we realize, wow, something is that high, we need to take it so seriously, and we can put it into perspective. And a lot of times when people don't feel heard in a relationship and it starts falling apart, there's a lot of these things that someone's missed. So they haven't realized that someone is that level upset. They thought, oh, this was, not a big deal. And, they haven't taken it seriously enough on either side. Or, someone might be exhausted on the other end thinking, wow, this person's like feeling like 9 and 10 out of 10 all the time. I can't deal with that. I'm emotionally so exhausted. And they're actually not that upset, and they want something completely different. So there's so many dynamics that can come to play with this sort of thing. But Mazda, back to your question. Please, I recommend you bring it up as, if you're feeling something strong, if you're feeling a
Please
strong
just
emotion.
remind us of what your question was. I sure don't remember.
Mazda, do you
I
want to?
don't even remember. But I think, dude, we got to saw some live examples, and I think you guys brought up some things that were valuable within your own relationship, and we got to see that. So I think I'm happy. You've answered my question.
Okay, I'm glad. If I remember your question, it was if it was something small you're unsure of and you don't have all the pieces and you're having a good time, do you bring it up? And I would say if you're feeling strongly about it, or if it's something that upset you, like, it's better to bring it up than hold it in. If you have the patience and the stamina to try and work out why you're upset and what you need, then do that, and then, bring it up at a better time.
Another thing you can do is, I think you can just let your partner know, hey, this happened. It upset me. Everything's okay. Don't worry about it. But if you're like with people or something, you're going to say like, we can resolve it later. So at least you let something out, but you say, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong. We have time. This isn't time sensitive. Just getting it up a little bit right now.
Yeah. I remember we were on holiday actually with Armand's family, and there was something that came up, and I can't even remember what specifically it was anymore. But I got like upset while we were with people, and so I had to. So Armand noticed I'm upset, and he was really freaking out. He was like, "Oh no, what has he done?" And I think it wasn't even related to him. I was upset about something else that happened with some other people or some other situation, and so I remember like he was really worried, and like, but I didn't want to cause a scene, so I kept being like, "Don't worry about it, don't worry about it, don't ask me." And then later, and then I told him, as soon as we were alone, and then but he was really worried for such a long. So there was like hours in there that I didn't tell him exactly what it was, and he was freaking out about what is it, what could be so bad, and then so that's something that I had to learn, that we came up with a system where if something happens where one of us are upset in front of other people and we don't want to cause a scene, like, it's not a big deal, but it's still important, like and we notice the other person's upset, like, we just give each other like a reassuring look, and like like a confirmation that like it's not that big of a deal, we can talk about it later, don't worry. And so that's something that we've implemented more recently to address things that we don't want to kind of have an argument in front of everyone and resolve it in front of everyone. So you can postpone conversations by a little bit until you're alone, because it's better, but even just postponing it by a few hours caused a lot of damage, for your partner waiting and not knowing what's wrong. So even then, you still have to have a system to communicate, like, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal, that we can still wait a few hours to talk about it. So that's another thing as well to keep in mind. Anything else anyone wanted to bring up before we jump into the Reddit questions?
I think another really valuable thing was how you bring it up. Like, I guess you want to. What are some of the best ways? So you said like be honest. Maybe think of a solution. Like, I don't like it when you do X. Can you maybe do Y? I don't know. Like, you don't want to control the reaction, or like, what do you think about it? Like, what? Just some general tips to maybe start that conversation. I think would be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is an easy one.
Go Armand, do it.
I always start with at least one middle finger. I find that it sets the tone for the conversation really well. And then after that, I usually say something like, this action made me feel sad.
Mm.
I felt like this. I felt sad when this happened. And I feel like that statement's really good because, what's someone going to say? Hey, you shouldn't have felt like that. They're like,
that's not good
who
if
are
someone
you?
says you shouldn't feel like that, by
It's
the way.
not good if someone says that, but,
Yeah.
who are you to say how I should feel?
Mm-hmm.
And if someone says, well, I did it for this reason, you can always just say, it made me feel sad. It made me not feel good. Like, what is, like, it's kind of impeachable. unimpeachable. And I feel like it's very non-threatening. Just that's I feel statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was the first thing you said? Did you say put your middle finger up?
Yeah, just give him a fat middle finger.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so don't listen to that part. But the rest of what he said was really, really good. I feel statements are much better than attacking statements like, you're so stupid, or like, why would you do that? You're a horrible person. Like, please don't start any communicating your feelings like that. Don't attack someone's character as you're so selfish. No. You want to, like what Armand said, I felt sad when you did this, or I felt embarrassed when you did this, or whatever emotion you're feeling. I felt, and if you're worried about the timing a little bit, you can always ask, I felt a certain way about something that happened. When is a good time to talk to you about it? And, usually people say now is a good time, or they give you a time that's pretty close. If they say, oh, let's talk about it next week, like, no, put your foot down and say it sooner. But, yeah, so kind of find out when's a good time, I feel. And then if you know what you want, say what it is you want. And then hopefully you see a good reaction from them. And if you don't see a good reaction from them, then you need to kind of teach them what like how you feel respected. And it's okay to be able to stand up for your feelings and defend your own feelings, and kind of figure out what you need, and they help figure out what you need to make the situation better. So that's the ideal scenario, and we're all humans, so we don't do this 100% right all the time. Even people that have known this and practiced this, sometimes we all get it wrong, so that's very normal. But this is the kind of ideal standard we want to work towards and practice in different situations. And every situation is going to be different where you get upset, so you have to kind of learn these patterns of behavior and be able to apply them in all of these different situations that can upset you. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have to be able to be there for your partner when they're upset. All of us are going to make mistakes. All of us are going to upset our partners. And a lot of what Odin said at the beginning, you want your partner to tell you so then you can improve together. So, he saw it kind of like as a blessing, as a really positive thing. And that's such a great mindset to have for these sorts of things, because it gives you like a door to improve every time someone brings that up. And, if you say you're upset and someone's there for you, or if your partner says you're upset and you're there for them, those things actually bring you closer together and makes your relationship even stronger. And the trust grows and the intimacy grows, and all of these things work in the right direction. So it's definitely a very positive thing to be able to both work towards doing. And on your end of the spectrum too, being able to put your own feelings aside and be there for your partner and listen to what they need and give them that, or a compromised version they're happy with. So both sides, takes two to tango, and we both got to be great partners on both sides. All right. Any other questions before we jump into Reddit questions? Okay. All right. So, Omid, I know you're our special guest. You've been a bit silent today. You're here. So I'm going to ask this one to you. Let's see how you would kind of address this one. So 27-year-old female, 28-year-old male. Wife wants me to cut up pictures of my daughter that I have with my ex that's also in the picture. And a bit of context that you have is my wife and I are a blended family, and we each brought a child into the relationship. My arrangement is 50-50, and she has full custody. One day she found old photos of me and my ex, and then they deleted the rest of the story, so I'm sorry. So let's say this situation comes up, and you find out that your wife wants you to cut up the pictures that you have with your kid and your ex. What's a good way to respond, and what's a bad way to respond? What have you got?
I don't need the rest of the story, people. It's already laid out in front of me like a fine tapestry.
Which one are you going to start? Start with the bad way to respond first.
The bad way to respond is just go, nah, bro, nothing's happening. We're not going to talk about this. They stay. You have no rights. You have no choice. You have no freedom.
Very good, very good. Now, what's a good way to approach it?
I feel like this is like a sit-down kind of conversation, because both parties have brought kids from some point.
Yep.
So this would be like a sit-down conversation based on the fact of, like, does she really want it? Like, she obviously wants, like, the ex-wife's photos out. But, like, how far is the dude willing to take it? Like, how significant is this person? Are they still friends? Or, like, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm pretty sure this dude is sensical and will just go, yeah, she doesn't really mean that much to me. Let's get it done. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this sets the pace for the future. Mm-hmm. Because, like, she might also have photos of her ex-husbands. So, like, it might be like a way of him pivoting and going, I'll remove my ex-wife if you remove your ex-husbands, or you, like, take them out of your phone or whatever.
Yeah. Great answer. So, sit down, talk about it. If she wants it, completely gone, he was considering almost getting pretty much agreeing to it, getting rid of all of it. If he really felt strongly about it, maybe he could negotiate, you also get rid of your pictures if you have any or something else. Or he could be like, sure, like I'm open to cutting out the ex-wife whenever, she's in the photo that's like not close to it. But, maybe he wants to still keep the photos with him and his own child in that photo. And if they're together, maybe just cut out the ex-wife. Maybe that could be a compromise she would be okay with. Or maybe even asking the daughter how she feels about it. Does she still want to have the pictures with her mom and dad together, getting her opinion? But it's important, even if you get your daughter's opinion, that you really have to take what your partner wants very seriously into consideration, because it's tough with your children and your partner, but it's really important to value your partner with what they're doing, and making sure if you do come up with a compromise, it's a compromise that they're happy with. Because if you do a compromise that they're not happy with, they're still holding on to it. And a lot of people complain about women throwing like arguments from a really long time ago, bringing it up, and this is part of it. So when something is usually like they're happy on both ends, it shouldn't really come up again. So please make sure both partners are taking that into consideration fully, so it doesn't come up later and you resolve it. Next question. So a male who's 22 and a female who's 19. Boyfriend didn't come to the hospital or scene of the crash. Do I end things? Is the question. So we do have a bit of background on this question. So I was driving back from my boyfriend's house, which is an hour away from mine, when about 20 minutes in, I felt my vision go black and blurry. So I went to pull over and put my hazards on. Next thing I knew, I woke up in the left guardrail. I immediately called my friends that were an hour and a half away to meet me at the hospital, which they did. And I also immediately told my boyfriend, since I was at the hospital like 20 minutes away from him. He didn't come or call back when I told him to call me again, because I was really scared. And now his nephew has asked him to pick me up an hour away to get my car from towing. And he's just another 2 hours away in Pittsburgh for some reason. But Lord knows he never drives to me. I think I need to break up with him, but maybe I'm being dramatic. Okay, so breaking up with a boyfriend for not coming to her in the hospital or scene of the crash. Mazda, I want to throw this one at you. What do you think?
Yeah, I would think it's a good question. Like, if you care about it and they didn't show that they did it, why did they not show it? Is it that they couldn't? Was it they didn't know? Was it like, what's the situation? I think that's an interesting thing to know. Maybe she's exaggerating a little bit, because she normally, when things happen to you, we exaggerate how we feel a little bit. Or maybe, yeah, like that's a very special moment. Like when people need help, you need to make sure you're there. Maybe she really appreciates that. What was the question again? I think I got
No,
lost.
it's okay. So you gave me your feelings on it, which is really good. So let's say we have, because we don't really know what happened. So one thing I want you guys to notice with this situation that's really important is, so this thing happened, and her immediate thought was, should I end things with him? And without even knowing what's happened, because the story doesn't even explain what his side of the story is. So please, guys, don't jump to this conclusion without knowing all the facts. My brother's requesting to speak, so I'm going to hand it over.
At this point, I may be in consideration of co-host. We don't know. We'll have this for the future, but I think obviously when she hit the guardrail, she made it to the upper planes, and she made the rest of the story using a Ouija board.
She's definitely not dead. She's definitely still alive, and we're figuring out how to have this conversation. So let's say, Mazda, you're going to be the girlfriend in this situation who, didn't have your boyfriend come to you. You don't know what's going on. Other people are coming to help you, and he's still not there. Let's say I just call you on the phone and say, hey, I just saw your missed call. What is going on? Are you okay? Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, but why aren't you here? Like, I thought you would be here. Like, that's so stuck on it. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So you went straight to it. You said, why aren't you here? I want you here. Okay, that's not bad. So it's good that you communicated that you were upset. So that's a really good thing, and it's better to say it than not say it. A better way to say it is, hey, thanks for calling. Like, I feel really upset that you weren't there when I really needed you in the car crash, and then I came to the hospital, and it's been 2 hours, and you're still not here. What is going on? So, that
Yeah,
still
I thought I was being,
yeah.
I thought I was being the person in character. That's why I was. But yeah, I would like. I really appreciate you calling. I really feel like you should have been here, and then kind of start the conversation there.
Oh, keep going. Now ask me. So say, I feel. What do you feel? I
Dude, I
feel
feel hurt that you're not there at this very impactful moment in my
yes.
life. I feel it's
Good.
life changing.
Good. What do you need to feel better?
I need to talk about it with you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you come over ASAP, or can we talk about it tomorrow?
Okay, well, I'm open to hearing it on the phone. Does that work for you? I'm open to hearing every single thing that happened on the phone. I'm so sorry I wasn't there when you needed me. I'm gonna get there as soon as I can, but right now I'm open to hearing everything you have to say. Does this help you feel better?
Yeah, it does. I think I just need to talk about it with someone. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Amazing, amazing. So those little tweaks make a big difference. So, and if someone was like, I think your first one was, you should have been there. Why weren't you there or something? I can't remember what your first words were, but maybe the boyfriend could have been like, well, do you have any idea what I've gone through? Like, do you know where I've been? Like, I don't know, maybe I was arrested and I couldn't come and I didn't have my phone. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe I was in my own car crash.
I was in my own car crash. I'm actually in ICU and in a lot worse shape.
I was the other car.
I was not the
The boyfriend might have cheated.
No, hopefully the boyfriend has also not been cheating on her. But yeah. So, they might flip it on you and say those things. But you know what? Even if I say I was in another car crash or whatever, the story doesn't say that I contacted you. You got upset first. You contacted me, and you're the one that told me you're upset first. So in this situation, even if I had gone through a lot, if you're upset first, I need to resolve what's going on with you before I tell you what I need from you to feel better, because you got upset first. So that's how we practice that rule in practice. That was really awesome, Maz. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
one takeaway there that I thought was very beneficial is trying to isolate it. Don't blame them, but start from a place of, this is how I feel when you did this. Let's talk about it and try and move forward.
Yeah, and figure out why. We have no idea why the boyfriend wasn't there. Maybe he's got a really good reason, and that would really help us feel more supported, or decide that they're like a complete jerk if they're doing something terrible. Okay, or means wanting the speaker.
So what you're saying, Maz, is you think that everyone should take away this kind of behavior and say, don't blame him, her, or anybody, because cowards do that, and that ain't you.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Exactly. Love it. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Let's still practice these skills and apply them to new situations. Okay, so 24-year-old female, 30-year-old male. Title is, I don't know how to tell my boyfriend I'm not satisfied. And we do have some background on this one. So it says, I'm really struggling with this. My boyfriend and I have been together for 2.5 years. In this time, we both finished graduate school and he started his new job, which has crazy hours. He often works 15 hours a day and is expected to be on call pretty much 24/7. It's very common for him to have to drop what he's doing and disappear onto his laptop for a few hours, no matter what is going on. He's not lying. I have plenty of friends in this field and at his firm. He's done a pretty good job at not neglecting any responsibilities between his home and work life, except his sex life. He barely touches me anymore. We almost never have sex. This is such a change because it used to be all the time, and we were both confident saying we are each other's best partner. But now we're just so tired all the time, and he's never in the mood. It's been almost a year of this now, and it's really weighing on me. I would never want him if he didn't want me to, but it's impacting my self-esteem. I've tried to bring the spark back on my own, new things, trying out new fantasies, sending cheeky texts while at work, but nothing subtle is working. Him telling me to just face what was that? Sorry. Him telling me to my face with me head to toe in his favorite lingerie that was too tired really hurt my pride. So she tried to do the whole lingerie thing and it didn't work. I feel like it's time to bring it up to him explicitly, but I have no idea what to say. I know telling him I'm unsatisfied directly will mean he tries super hard to please me for a while, but then overall we'll internalize it and then it will become even worse. I don't want to threaten or leave or anything, but my last straw was him making a joke about how it would be fine if I took care of myself while he was working, when in fact I've been doing just that for months. Any advice on how to navigate this is appreciated. I need to talk to my boyfriend and tell him I'm not. Okay, so that's afterwards. All right, so this is some background. So title was, I don't know how to tell my boyfriend I'm not satisfied. What is the main thing that pops out at you with this question? I want you guys to start thinking like me and using all your relationship skills that you're learning. What is a big thing that jumps out at you with this story? Who wants to take a guess at what is the big thing jumping out here?
It's been going on for a long time.
Yes. That was the exact thing I was thinking of. She has been bottling this up for about a year. And, he's, got this super demanding job. He's trying his very best with managing the new workload, after they graduated. And he's still taking care of, his home responsibilities. That's what she said. He's doing a pretty good job and not neglecting any responsibilities at home and at work life. So maybe he thinks that he's doing an amazing job and that his, wife is, happy and fine and everything's good. And he's just not realized that, this sex life part has been completely slipping, and she's not mentioned it. And she's tried all these subtle ways of trying to highlight it, but it's been so subtle that he's not noticing it at all. So there's so much bottling going up in this story for a year. And she even had the thought of like, should I break up with him or not? I don't want to. Please notice these behaviors in your own lives. As soon as you notice something that's upsetting you, even a little, it's much better to say it. Note that the default for most people is to not say it, and it builds up over a long time, and then it gets really hard to say, and then you feel like you're at breaking point or like nothing is working, and you still haven't even communicated that you're upset about something. So this is very common behavior that's not good, that we're just doing as humans, and we need to get better at it. So that's the biggest thing that jumped out at me in this story, that it's been a year and she still hasn't communicated this is bothering her. So yes, Mr. Magic Man
What's
Master.
another thing that he is missing? What's another thing that he's missing that I think is a bit funny?
Oh, let me see. He did make a joke about something. Let me see if I can find it. Good catch if you call it something like that. Wait,
Dude,
at
I'll
the
just
end.
say, there's a super small line. He said he's tired. Check his sleep, bro. Maybe it's something so small. Dude,
Oh my
people need to
God.
appreciate their sleep.
This is really funny inside joke for our family because my brother Mazda, he loves his sleep, and whenever we're with him on holiday as well, we try and respect his sleep as much as we can. So yes, he did say something. He did make a joke. Let me see. By my last straw was him making a joke about how it would be fine if I took care of myself while he was working. So yeah, that was a joke about back at her. But yeah, like maybe he just needs more sleep and that would help that. But regardless, she's probably made so many excuses for him, and that's the reason that she's not brought it up, because she's like, oh, it should be natural, it should just be happening, he should know. Maybe he doesn't feel like it. But maybe in reality, it just didn't occur to him, or maybe he's just too tired, he hasn't slept enough, and he hasn't put enough priority. Like maybe this is a first order priority for her, their sex life being great, and maybe she doesn't mind if the homework, things like taking care of the house, maybe if those things slip up, she doesn't mind. Or maybe if he doesn't cook at all, clean at all, or like whatever he does, maybe if they don't spend time together on certain days, but like this is fixed, that is the most important thing that she really needs right now. And maybe he's like, wow, I've been working so hard trying to take care of the house, trying to take care of all these other things, and if I knew that's just what you wanted, that's so much easier for me. Sometimes it's just that simple and they don't know. So please learn from this example. The main thing I want you to take away from this story on Reddit from this week is to please don't let things bottle up this long for whatever reason that you're holding it in. Always bring it up so you can just start figuring it out and it doesn't get to this stage.